Welcome, everyone. We have the Transformers crossover Star Wars, The Mandalorian, N-1 Starfighter. Hasbro has done a lot of Transformers collaboration items over the past 4 or 5 years, starting with, I believe, MP10 Optimus and Ghostbuster colors. We've since then gotten 2 versions of Ecto-1. We got the Back to the Future car. We got Top Gun, a couple Universal Monsters, Stranger Things, and Jurassic Park. Don't know if I'm missing anything. And then we know that we've got Sonic the Hedgehog coming and Naruto. Oh yeah, and I almost forgot Knight Rider. I'm still amazed that that even exists. Plus Monster Hunter. Actually, at the time of this recording, there is another variant of that Optimus Monster Hunter coming, so even more stuff on the horizon. And I believe there's some rumors for even more collaborations coming. So maybe that'll be something for 2026. Maybe it'll be announced this year, but release, sometime down the road. So Hasbro Transformers is not new to doing the Star Wars crossover toys. Back in the 2000s, there was a very massive, expansive line of Star Wars Transformers. They were a big hit when they were out, and with the Clone Wars, it allowed them to create many characters. And I think that as the kids that watched Clone Wars phased out, that the interest in that line phased out. I had some of those figures myself, and they were very much of the engineering of the time. They were a little wonky, a little clever. The big thing that I enjoyed is that they came with little pilots. None of these recent crossover toys have come with pilots, human figures, drivers. So that's one aspect that has kind of been left to the wayside, which I kind of miss. Maybe they're doing it to save costs. Maybe it's because they know that they're not going to scale these vehicles together if they do more of them. So it's a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, we have a different company that makes figures with pilots. So that's the Star Wars Micro Galaxy collection. So if you want an authentic vehicle with a pilot that's scaled, relatively speaking, with other vehicles, that's your go-to. Now, Takara did a very short release of a couple of figures of Star Wars Transformer figures that were not re-releases of the American versions. Those were actually pretty nice. To me, maybe better, articulation and delivery than the original Hasbro ones, but they did a Millennium Falcon, they did a Darth Vader TIE Fighter, and then they didn't do anything else. So it'll be interesting to see what Hasbro does further if they're going to continue doing Star Wars crossover. I could see them easily doing an X-Wing. I could see them easily doing Darth Vader's TIE Fighter again. Maybe a little bit different, maybe a little bit bigger. Like from a scale point of view, like as a ship, this does seem bigger than the original Star Wars Hasbro line. So let's wait and see what the future holds. Going over the packaging, I don't know if we saw the packaging prior to the release. Getting this, I was kind of shocked at the package design. It's very cool. It's a bit irregular, so it's got this vaulted box design with a nice big window. They've got the very specific Star Wars The Mandalorian logo along with the Transformers logo. Very much Generations, Legacy, Studio Series kind of product. and a nice render of the robot mode here. On the top, there's just some, simulated components, lights, things like that. Same thing on the side, and same thing on the other side, just a little bit different. So they really want you to feel like this thing is like a container for this actual vehicle, like this vehicle is real. On the bottom, you've got UPC, and then on the back, you've got a layout that is very much familiar with the Generations Legacy War for Cybertron line. Get a few poses, you get to see what the accessories can do, and you get to see him in both modes. So let's go ahead and get this guy out of the package. So you will get an instruction booklet. It looks like everything is right here in the front under a bubble. Oh, excuse me. There is a couple things in the back, so be wary of that so you don't accidentally throw something away. So that is the packaging. Let's go ahead and get this guy all the way out. So here he is out of the package. And as you see, he comes with a lot of accessories. So these two pieces were in one bag together. This was in a separate bag. And basically you can use this to create a stand. It does have some usage in robot mode, which we'll go over, but you've got a little hole on the bottom, and then you've got an instant vehicle stand. Then this piece can also be stored here. You just, basically this opens. This becomes his cape later on. And you just push it on in there. There are some tabs to lock this in. So there are tabs on the side, like your masterpiece hand tabs. And there are slots where they go in on here. So you can just make sure it's very secure, and then you can have all that stored together. He's got a pistol also, and there are 5mm ports in several places. There's one on each side of the thrusters, just on the sides, so you can store his gun there if you want. He's got these little exhaust pieces, and they can slide over thrusters in the back. And then he's got a few more blast effects. There's one that's large. There are two others that are a little bit smaller. We'll call these medium. And then he's got a small one, which I believe just goes to the pistol. They can also go up front on these guns. And as far as the instructions demonstrate, the large one is meant for the rifle that you form with this back piece. It would be nice if maybe you could put it here, but there's not really an official place for this to go. So, for storage, you could leave it on one of the rear thrusters, or you could store it in here, I guess, but you get some options. The vehicle itself is interesting. It's kind of got some simulated wheels on the bottom. I don't know why they did that. It doesn't have landing gear, so you're just going to lay it flat. Really, you're going to take advantage of the display if you're using it in vehicle mode. But it's got all the necessary detail that you would need. The actual vehicle in the show does have some asymmetry. They've replicated some of that, but like for instance, The thrusters, the show vehicle, one side has all the casing, the other side, part of the casing is exposed. They don't have that set up here, which is not a big deal. There is some decent paint, a little bit of weathering, and various places there's like this dark gunmetal and then some lighter gunmetal. And just to throw things up and kind of get into the Mandalorian robot character, you got some browns here and there, some beige, and really this is colors to represent the Mandalorian character as this transforms into robot mode. So it doesn't have a working cockpit, but this area that Grogu goes in, also this thing's going to be a parts former to a little bit of degree. But this bubble opens and you can, he may not fit because his ears are too big. You could definitely get a vintage collection Grogu in there. This is a Black Series Grogu and his ears are just going to kind of get in the way. But you can put a Grogu in there. And this canopy does not really open, but it does come off. Might take a little bit of work, but this does easily come off. It's not glued in. But you can't really do anything with this. Like there's no functionality here. But if you're customizing, there may be something you might want to do with that. But overall, this looks like the N-1, and the gray that they used isn't too dark, isn't too light. So I feel like overall they did a good job with the vehicle mode. Okay, so transforming this guy, I don't think this is going to be too difficult. So you definitely want to get this piece off, and I know that this is going to become a blaster. Yeah, basically do this accordion thing, and the instructions tell you to put the larger blast effect on this. So this is his, this is an homage to his rifle. And then from here, you can definitely tell these are the legs. You can tell there's a belt here. So let's start lifting some of these pieces up. I am not looking at the instructions, just seeing how easy or not easy it is to figure this out. Definitely pulls up this way. And we can pull these legs out. And you can tell these are definitely feet. Had to flex the plastic a little bit there. And then there's a tab that folds in. That's clever. Okay, so that's the lower half. Looks like this opens up. There's where his head is hiding. Okay, so this swivels up. This is going to be the front. So you want to swivel these to the back. They are going to have to untab and swivel around. And then like this chest piece just does an accordion type thing here. And this swings around. So you're going to end up with this. Let's go ahead and twist this around, since we know what the front is now. Okay, and there's a piece right here we need to pull out to lock into the neck. You're probably going to want to do this at the beginning before you swivel the chest around. And it does look like these pieces push all the way in, going to go into the cavity. So you're going to have something like this, and then there's a tab right here that goes into a tab under the neck. So there's that piece. I don't know what we're doing with this back piece yet, but this seems to be the part that we don't need to worry about yet. Okay. You can kind of tell what's going to happen with the arms. The arms are going to go in here. Let's take care of the back real quick. I think we just close this back up. Close that around. And then got the hands hidden inside. Just open that up. Just on a little ball joint there. Okay, it's not so hard. Getting these arms fully in. Seems like it might stop here, but you need to push further and do kind of lock. That is pretty much it. So here he is in robot mode, and this is a pretty sturdy figure, very modern transform articulation. You're going to end up with some things that are left over. For instance, this piece for Grogu doesn't really have a place to go now, and I don't see. Yeah, the instructions don't have anything for that, and you're just going to end up putting this to the side. His little pistol is interesting because he does have a holster for it. Of all things, you can literally put his gun in his holster. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a Transformer figure that had a working gun holster. So that's kind of cool. Now, the only thing negative is that this gun is very small. Like, it's difficult to get into his fist. It will go in there, but you know, the nub is so small. It's gonna take a little bit of work, and it's, you know, teeny tiny. But I found that is very cool. Like that is a first. Before we go too far down into how the accessories work here, let's talk about the articulation. The head is on a ball joint. It is quite limited by the sculpt. There's not a whole lot of range of movement because of that, because it's so low to the threshold of the chest, but it is a ball joint. The shoulders have a decent degree of motion. He's got a swivel at the elbow that will serve as a bicep joint, and the hands are on ball pegs, but because of the sculpt, they just function as swivels. He does have a swivel waist. As you can see, he's got disc hinge hips with also a upper thigh swivel. He does have a really incredible knee bend, mostly due to transformation. The feet go up and down, and they do rock a little bit. So, pretty good articulation for, a transformer. And then accessories, we showed off his smaller gun. He does have a larger gun, again, kind of meant to be his rifle. It does work a little weird because of the hinge. You might find it doing something weird like that, but for the most part, it does the job. And then you can take what became the stand for the vehicle, start taking it back apart, and now you have all these extra pieces to make him look like the Mandalorian. So this piece has a peg, and that peg goes in here, and you're going to need to bring these out a little bit and just push that in there. So he's got his cape. This can become a shield, an energy shield. So you can do that. If you wanted to, you could pretend this is a sword. I don't think they advertise it that way, but you could pretend this is the dark saber, or an homage to the dark saber. And then he's still got all these various blast effects. So you can be creative and do pretty much just about anything with this setup. So for comparisons, here he is with Earthrise Optimus and Studio 86 Optimus. And he's technically a tad bit shorter than Earthrise. So that should give you some good ideas on the height. And here he is with Starscream, Studio 86 Starscream, and he's maybe a hair taller, from top of head. So he's kind of in that Voyager range, maybe a little tall for Voyager. And then maybe you want to get this because you're big into the Mandalorian. So this is the Black Series Mandalorian. This is the one with the cloth cape. And he's just a tad bit taller. So this could, fit in pretty well in a display if you want to have him placed like this. So overall, a very cool transformer. I like the build, the articulation, the general look. I feel like this was a clever design for Hasbro to choose as a first Star Wars figure, in that, the Mandalorians have these helmets that are very robot-like, so it translates into a robot character pretty well. But if they do an X-Wing, are they going to give him a head that looks like Mark Hamill wearing a helmet? Or are they going to give him a more robotic head like, Starscream? Or my personal favorite, I don't know that they'll ever do it, but I kind of wish the head sculpts would look even more abstract, like something off of Macross, like the training Veritex. But when they do these, they almost always give the robot a caricature of a human that's associated with the property. Although with the Knight Rider figure, that gives me hope that if they do more of these Star Wars figures, maybe they'll make the robot head a little bit more generic, or at least a little bit more robot, and not like a analog of a human face with hair type thing. So who knows what the future holds. But if this is all we get, this is nice. I definitely recommend picking them up. Thanks for watching. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, tune in to more videos coming up.